Wow, part two. I don't know how to turn this off. But I'm really, really embarrassed. And I'm just gonna go ahead and do it. This is his grass. Um so I bought trash bags and stuff so that I could get things done. And what I mean by that is just um putting things that need to go into donation, and actually following through with it because I just have not. And I want something more for myself outside of like mental anguish and destruction and stuff like that. I'm sorry, it's hard to have this conversation with him right there. That is hilarious. He's my guardian angel. But anyway, so let's get to why I feel like this is my broken era, or era of just regrowth. I could change it. So my job is to educate others, and honestly, I educate other adults on educating their children, which is great because I think that sometimes, um, I'm not a mom or anything, but sometimes adults, we can get ahead of what God is trying to show us. And that can be overwhelming because it's like, okay, I'm trying to do what you asked me to do, God, but I'm slipping, I'm tripping, and that happens. And I have been able to have the blessing, the pleasure to be with, kids who show me every day that I'm worthy of love, that I can make mistakes, that, if I'm going to do this, I've got to be honest, um, that I'm accountable for the world around me and how I make people feel, how my actions affect other people. And I didn't get that opportunity as a child myself because I was always taking care of other people, and I was physically and emotionally abused as a child, um, and spiritually abused. And this might have to be separate videos or whatever like that, so I can explain to you all what that entails, spiritual abuse. But all those things happened to me as a kid, and I just remember feeling hopeless as a teacher, um, just sort of feeling like maybe I can't do this because I don't know what it's like to be a child. So, how could I help children? But growing up, I always felt like an adult, and I never had the essence. I never had the whisper. I never had the hope. I never had the guidance. There were two family members that were a great, part of my life, and they helped me in ways that I'll never, ever be able to explain or show any kind of amount of gratitude for, my aunt and uncle. However, I have hangups with certain things because if you realize and recognize child abuse, you need to be able to step in. No, I can't see. You need to be able to step in and advocate or be some sort of safe haven. And I definitely think that they did that for me. It's okay. I definitely think that they did that for me on different levels, and it helped me greatly, to escape from my abusers, without it actually causing any more harm to the children, me and my sisters involved in the abuse. So I can understand that part, like, oh, let's do this so that it doesn't seem like, we're trying to take their children. But so, um as a teacher, when I first started, y'all, I was I didn't know how I was going to educate, to be honest, because I kept having mental fatigue and spiritual warfare because I didn't know if I was capable to teach children because of how abused my spirit was, how low I was. I didn't think that it was possible for me at all, y'all, like at all to teach. Like it wasn't for me. I don't think anyway. So I will just go ahead and say it. I don't have the best relationship with my parents anymore. Well, never did. But they also have disowned me like they have many times before. So this is nothing new to me in that aspect. So a couple of weeks ago, you know, speaking of boundaries and how to advocate for yourself, my mom felt like it was, okay to disown me once again, because I was talking about feelings that she wasn't ready to discuss. And let me just say this real quick, just as a disclaimer, nobody's perfect. Um, we all have our mental issues and spiritual warfare and spiritual, battles. And sometimes that gets in the way of you being the best person. But I think, I thank God, not think, I thank God for the ability to know when you have a loose wire, when you need to get your together. Because let me just be real with y'all. I'm 36, 37, going to be 37 in a couple of weeks. My mom was 36, raising a 16-year-old, an 18-year-old, and a 14-year-old. And I couldn't imagine. But I would not deny my mental status. I would have to go and get help. Okay? Children are not punching bags. Children are not tools that you use to mentally manipulate them. Children are not parents. Children are not your doctors, your therapist, your psychiatrist, your mom, your aunt, your uncle, your dad, whatever. Children aren't those step ins for you when you really need to get mental help. They're just not. Which is why teaching has taught me that, dang, you might need to get some help in that area, or you might need to, reevaluate, why do you think like that? What made you feel like that? So for that instance, that's why I'm saying what I'm saying is that you got to get yourself taken care of, because it's not the child's responsibility to make sure that you are mentally capable. And then they're not your beanbag, y'all. It's time for trash. I tried to hold on to these pants for so long, but hey, that's what I'm supposed to be doing, getting rid. Because right now I feel like I'm folding more stuff to keep than getting rid of stuff. I might give this to my coworker, because one time she saw this and she said she really liked it because it reminded her of Harry Potter. So I think I'm gonna give this to her. Hopefully she likes it. But anyway, I suffered greatly as a child, and let me just go into some of the ways and why I think it's catching up with me now, because helping others sometimes can shadow the fact that you might need help in certain areas, or it may make you feel like you're healing. But let me tell you something. You have to be aware. Okay? Does this make sense? Like, it makes sense to me. you have to be aware that you are searching for help that's not there in that area. And you have to be aware that the help that you're getting isn't to make you isn't here to help you like feel good right now. It's gonna feel like crap. That's why I teach it. I'm like, dang, I done got slapped all upside my head by certain situations. Like, wow, I need to get help. But I'm not a threat to anybody. Um, I just I think everybody needs to be emotionally aware of themselves and everything like that. And when we had open house, there was a parent who was like, I said, I teach them social and emotional intelligence. And she goes, well, my child is very in social, emotionally intelligent. She knows her feelings. And I said, well, that's great. But I think that sometimes we think that social intelligence or emotional intelligence has a lot to do with ourselves, but it also has a lot to do with how our actions make others around us make them feel, not us. And so if you're only thinking that your emotions affect yourself, they don't. Other people pick up on them. It shows other people how to treat you. It really does. And it's not good. Like, you're showing other people almost the worst side of you in certain situations. And that's not okay. So you always want to try to fix what is seen at that moment and not, try to sugarcoat things. And so, yeah. Anyway, I I don't think I ever experienced a great childhood. I hated being a kid. I really did. I hated it with all my heart and all my mind. I remember experiencing depression at such a young age. I think I was like 6 when I first felt feelings of like, oh, I don't, why am I here? And when you don't know the words at such a young age, it's really easy to have behavioral issues or habits or problems because you're thinking to yourself, like, there's something wrong with me because nobody else is talking to me about my actions. Nobody is telling me that I'm okay or I'm safe. And so that really was the launching pad for myself, me thinking like, wow, I'm not I'm not okay. Like, I'm not normal. I feel different. And for a child, feeling different doesn't always feel great. And I think we like just skip to our adult minds and being like, different is great. There's nothing wrong with you. No, if a child is telling you like I'm not happy, um, I feel like I want to kill myself or unalive myself. I feel like I want to not be here anymore, or did I do something wrong? Am I a mistake, or do you love me, or are you gonna be nice to me today? Um, these are all questions I used to ask as a child because I just thought like, man, there's something wrong with me. For my parents not to like me, like, because I already feel it. I already feel like I am I already feel like I'm a mistake. I already feel like I'm not supposed to be here, you know. So as a child, I did feel those feelings. I don't need this. I don't need that. I didn't like them when they fit. Um, y'all, I've gained 10 pounds and I don't care. How about them apples? Like, I really don't. So that's a bit another thing, me not focusing on crappy stuff. But I did. I felt like there was something wrong with me, and I felt like, Yeah, I have to be really like not worth it, because these are feelings that I noticed as a child, but I don't know how to explain it. I don't know how to tell my parents this is how I feel, because they're already treated me like, I'm not important. So maybe I'm supposed to feel like this. Am I going to feel like this for the rest of my life? Am I going to live out the rest of my life? Because I felt doom all the time. I did. I felt like any day could be my last day, as a kid, as a human being. And so the dynamic in my home was very dark. My mom suffered from, and I don't know, mental, great mental agony, to the point where I know, I'm not going to make no allegations, but what I do know is that she did um, overuse certain things to make her, I guess, feel not what she was feeling. And so I think that had a lot to do with um, her choices and the way that she treated us and spoke to us. So I had an older sister and a little sister, and I had a dad. I had a two-parent home, and um, I didn't like it. The first time I tried to unalive myself was when I was 8, but before that, I remember wanting to just be in heaven all the time, and I would constantly, I guess you could say, fantasize about death, at a very young age, and to the point where I would like tell my parents I wanted to be a mortician and I wanted to work at a morgue. And I had a lot of questions about death, and if God would still love me, if now these were questions I asked myself in my head, because I knew not to ask my parents that, but I remember telling my parents about what I wanted to be when I grew up. um the first half of my childhood was just a blur, but it was also very sad. And I'm not going to speak on my sister's parts, because mine was enough alone. There might be instances where we were always there for each other's abuse, but there were times where I was abused by myself and my sisters were abused by themselves that I can't account for. So that's what I mean. But I remember like having talks with my mom about just like not feeling loved, and if she was my friend, and like asking my mom, like, do you like me, do you love me, and can I always talk to you at any time, because I was experiencing anxiety attacks and panic attacks, to the point where like I would cry leaving the house, which is crazy because you would think that I would want to stay home. I wouldn't want to stay home being abused, but my mom would tell me stuff like, nobody's gonna love you, you're gonna need me before I need you, y'all are just a flavor of the month, y'all don't know how to do anything right, this is my shit. She would have kids from the neighborhood come into our home and take our toys from us and tell them that they could have it because we don't know how to clean the bathroom right, we don't know how to be appreciative. And it's like, what the heck were we doing at that age where, like, what did you want? You want, and this is why I said, say as adults, check yourself. Check yourself, because kids are not here as a representation of you. And that's why I always tell parents of the students that I'm teaching, this child is not a reflection of you. It's an extension of you. You know, just because you feel a certain way doesn't mean your child feels that way. Just because you're feeling down doesn't mean your child is feeling down. They're just mirroring what they see. That's why it's so easy for them to just run off and be happy, because they're just mirroring what they see. If you're not happy, you're upset all the time, that's what you're going to get from your child. And and that's why I always say there's no judgment as an educator, because we're constantly trying to figure ourselves out. We're constantly trying to figure life out. So yeah, anyway, so my I remember just being really, really done, and always begging my mom. Not really so my dad, because he stayed out the way. He sort of was just like my mom's help when it came to like whooping us and stuff, and reinforcing my mom's horrible disciplinary choices, which always amazed me, because I'm like, Dad, what? You're so smart. Like, well, let me keep it real on 100. Let me just keep going. There's going to be different parts of this. There's no way I can do all this at once. But I never felt safe as a young child. I never knew if I was always making the right choices, which was why it was hard for me to leave my home and go to school. And that brings me back to my point, like, oh, how could you want to stay in a place where they abused you all the time? Well, you start to feel safe in that abuse. Isn't that crazy? You start to feel safe in that abuse, y'all. And that's exactly what I was feeling. I started to believe the things that my mom said about me, like I'm going to hell and I don't know anything, and people are going to take advantage of me in the world, and what am I going to do without her? It was just constant spells of, not having a place in the world, not, always feeling as if there's truly something wrong with me. And when I go out in the world, people are going to see that, and they're not going to love me, and they're not going to want to accept me, and they're not going to understand me. Nobody's going to understand me but my parents, because they made me. And it was scary to know that there's a big world out there that might not accept me for being different. And that's why I love the way that I do now. Because there are people out there who are going to love you. And there are people out there that are going to fight for you. And there are people out there who are going to ask you questions, and they're going to wait for you to respond. And there are people out there who are going to let you make mistakes and teach you how to do it the right way, and not be upset because you don't understand. And that is who I am as an educator. Glad I decided to do laundry. Wouldn't have nothing to wipe my face with. But yeah, that's a true thing. I mean, even if you think about relationships, people stay in relationships that aren't good for them because they actually believe that about themselves. It didn't just start, there was a feeling. And I'm going to say this, around the age of like 5 and 6, I knew that I was different and I felt it, and it felt really bad. Like it felt like depression, honestly. Um but I didn't know those words as a child, but I think it was because the only reason I felt like that was because of the atmosphere around me. Um that's the only way I can explain it, because even as I reflect constantly, hey bookity boo, leave my no, this is my baby. He has helped me so much. Isn't he big? I think I introduced him in one of the videos. Mm-mm-mm. 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 Yummy. Do you love me? He does. He does. Um, but he has been the best thing that has ever happened to me. He's back there scratching on his little pole, his little scratching post. But anyway, sometimes you can have things pop up in your body, in your mind, that you don't necessarily believe, but you got to have the right people. You got to have the right people around you, um, you know, to make you feel, to help you understand that, it's okay. I'm giving them pants away. I'm trying to keep them things. You really do. You got to have people to say, that's not who you are. You gotta believe in yourself, and I'm gonna be there for you. There are people like that. There are people out there that God has placed in my life like that. So that's why I believe it, and that's why I say it, and that's why I get emotional behind it, because I never would have thought. I truly believed things that my guardians told me. I did. And how's a shoe in the laundry? I truly believed everything that they said. And although this is just the first part of my breakthrough, I'm gonna be obedient, Lord. I'm sorry that I didn't do this video over and over again just out of fear. But I know that it's gonna set me free from a lot of things, and it will set other people free. But I know right now that this is some healing for myself that I definitely needed. So, the first half of this video is about my early childhood, and that's how it was, from the age of 5 to 8. And we were constantly belittled for our physical appearance and made fun of. I was constantly made fun of for my teeth, if I got too dark. And for those who do, like, what does that mean? For people not in a minority or a melanin skin tone, there is colorism in people's families where it's not beautiful to be a certain skin tone. Like, it's passable, but it's, they will make fun of you if, you are a tone that they don't find appealing or passable. It's crazy to me. God made it, so how is it not passable? But anyway, that's just a side note for everyone. But starting school was really hard, having depression and being abused as a child, because I could never concentrate and I was always failing. and I had like performance anxiety and speech anxiety to the point where I couldn't really remember what I was doing, what I was saying, how I was responding to people. I was always on the defensive side, especially with my sisters going to school with me. I always felt like I needed to be their protector. So I never really got the education that I needed, or anybody to advocate on my behalf until I was in fourth grade. And then I met the lovely Miss Elliott. I know. Get a cat, they said. But then I met the lovely Miss Elliott, and I'm so sad because she's not here with me anymore. But she saw me, and she saw the fact that I was struggling mentally, emotionally, and physically. She was the first teacher to ever take me out of my home to spend the weekend with her, and I thought that I was going to be getting tutored, but she would take me to the park, and she would let me talk to her daughters, and wow, I felt seen, I felt important. And the kind of discipline that she gave me was so needed, where it humbled me as a child, but I felt safe. Does that make sense? I think that's what I needed as a guardian. It's like, yeah, you're here to discipline me and to show me the way, but I'm also supposed to feel safe. You know, she spoke truth over me. She advocated for me. She paid, knowing what teachers get paid now, this woman paid for a private tutor for me. And I'll never forget that. That's a lot of love. And that's why I love the way I do. That's why, I educate the way I do. That's why I am who I am. He got his little onesie because he's about to get them little nutter butters cut off. He just doesn't know that. Right, King? Coming to a house near you. Sorry, boo. Not gonna be peeing on my stuff. He's already feeling himself, y'all. He's so spoiled. It's my fault. But he is loved. So I was like, wow, somebody loves me. Somebody likes me, like, as a human being. There's nothing wrong with me. And if there is, like, I'm just different. And I'm not made to feel like I'm not capable. Learning moment. There's a little boy that I taught last year who had some behavioral challenges. And he came back from his new school, because they're all in kindergarten now. Don't y'all be talking about my feet. I didn't put no lotion on. He came back and he said, Miss Tina, I miss you so much and I pray for you every day. I really do. And I said, I know you do, baby. I can feel it. And he goes, I'm not bad. That teacher didn't say I was bad. She didn't say anything about me. And I said, first off, when you come see me, don't you ever start the conversation with that, because I already know who you are. You're not bad. You're Jack. I can't really say his name. Jack the Pumpkin King. Because he felt safe enough to tell me that somebody else saw him too. And I think that my love validated the fact that he is Jack the Pumpkin King. He is his own person, and there's nothing wrong with being himself. And so that was like, wow, that's what I needed as a kid. I didn't need to leave with an excuse, But that's just how it is sometimes. And that's how it was for me. That my beautiful fourth grade teacher saw me for who I was. And that was beautiful. That was amazing, because I was able, and let me say this. I had some behavioral issues in her class. I was acting out because I was angry or I was misunderstood. This is the only school in which I acted a plumb fool, y'all. And I'm not lying. I really went all out. I was getting in trouble all the time. And, I didn't like that Miss Elliott liked me. Isn't that freaking crazy? I didn't like that my teacher liked me because I'm like, you know, I don't even know who I am. I'm unlovable. Why do you like me? Like, there's so many things wrong with me. So I thought, but she loved me anyway. And she was honest with me. She didn't coddle me because she knew I was coming from an abusive home. And it was weird because I'm always thinking my mom had to pay somebody to take me to school when she was a stay-at-home mom. Well, that's because she was probably under the influence. She was always sleeping. She wasn't really present during some parts, and it was not because she, had it wasn't because she had cancer, because she was ill for a few parts of my life that were real, that I actually saw her in the hospital sick and chest stapled closed and unresponsive. So I do remember that. And that is probably how I'm going to end this video on Miss Elliott, because I want to talk about what happened during that span after that. But I'm just here to say that I'm back. And y'all, look, I done folded all these clothes that I had been thinking, oh, I'm going to do it. But God gave me the strength to do it. It also helped to be fiddling with something while I told my truth. This truth will set me free, and I am more than a conqueror. I'm kept in safety everywhere I go, and you are too. I want to let y'all know that if you have been abused as a child and you're trying to find your way as an adult, this is your time to give back to that baby that wanted the world to just accept them. Because the world accepts anything, good or bad. And y'all look at all these. If I was watching this video, I'm like, okay, we done went from Christmas to Halloween to Thanksgiving to Valentine's Day, and this whole, y'all, I'm decluttering. That's why. So you're gonna see a lot of like my teacher outfits. But anyway, I think it's important for you to know as an adult or a teenager, whatever, that you are the reason people feel okay being themselves. Because if you were anything else, life wouldn't be what it's meant to be. Life would be crappy. I don't think people would even try anymore. When you find your tribe of people and your tribe of people care about you and they love you past your insecurities, it's easier to be yourself because you don't think that you're a mistake anymore. You don't think that there's no purpose for you because people need what you bring every day. And if I didn't show up today, I wouldn't have given that extra oomph to someone else, let alone that extra oomph to myself, because I didn't want to do this today at all. Like, none. I didn't want to do it. But I feel better now that I'm talking about it, I'm also going to seek professional help for it because I understand that this is not a form of psychological help. So I'm very aware of that, and I'm going to get the help that I need. You know, God really put it on my heart to just say what needed to be said today and to get on here. It's not easy. It's embarrassing, you know, because nobody wants to have to reveal or say anything like this to anyone, let alone out the blue. But I guess it ain't really out the blue because it's my truth. And so, as long as I show up, I'm doing the best that I can for myself, my future self, and nothing that's bad belongs to me because I don't have to believe someone's insecurities, you know, about myself. So that's beautiful. Anyway, I unfolded this. Meet me for the next video to go through my closet and declutter because it is a hot mess. I love you guys. Bye.